Hello?
Hello.
Yo, what's up?
What's up?
We do just a little bit of sound check here. Vudani, you want to talk to us here for a sec?
Hello.
There we go. That should do it.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to turn me up or something. People sound low in Discord.
Hopefully I sound okay then too.
Well, you all kind of sound like virgins.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Uh-oh.
All right, chat, does that sound good? Everybody sound good? All right. Good enough for me. So, let's start off with a hell of a fight, guys.
Yeah.
Too many fucking ninjas, dude.
I think
Ninjas OP.
I think the question that everybody wants to know is, why didn't winners make the cut?
He was talking to everyone, so we couldn't really play.
Okay, well let's dive into the notes, and then we'll get into the fight that you had there and what we think about the patch changes. So what we're gonna do here today is the same thing that we do on with all the other podcasts that I've done, except for we've got 3 people to give us kind of a full arc of what Vertex has been doing. Vertex comes from Orwin and a couple other guilds, but we're gonna give a full picture of what Vertex has been about, and then we'll get into the server merge. Get into the juicy bits, but I always like to start with a little bit of an icebreaker for the group of us and just go over, just dox you, a little light doxing, get as much personal information as you want to share about yourself, what part of the country or country you live in, real life job, or, at least industry you're in, stuff like that. And then your rough age, things like that. So if we want to just glaze over this, and we'll go into, how you guys got into playing Black Desert Online, I think that would be a good start. So whoever wants to jump in, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll start with that.
Alright, cool. So I guess I'll start with me.
Yep.
So I'm only 23 years old. I live in New York. I guess you could say my job is IT. Let's just put it as that. Well, like when Black Desert first released like their teaser or trailer video, it was like 2 or 3 years before it actually launched on NA. And I remember like being in college, I was like so hyped about that. I was like, holy shit, an actual MMO, that would be good. And when it finally did come out, I had finals actually, so I couldn't play it for a week. But yeah, a week passed and I got to play it, and it was pretty fun.
What was like your first games that you played growing up?
Oh, I played Guns, if anybody knows that
Oh
game.
my
Guns
God.
Online.
Really? I haven't thought about that. Did I even play it? I don't even remember.
It was like Soldier Front and Guns for me. I was into like FPS.
What was your first MMO?
Oh, definitely RuneScape.
Guns was an MMO.
I guess, yeah, I guess you could call it an MMO. It wasn't just an MMORPG.
Did
Yeah,
you
want to talk about yourself, Vudani or Kinjara?
Vudani, go
Yeah.
next.
Hello. I'm Vudani. I work in game design, so I don't live any one place for very long. I play every MMO, so I played BDO when it launched. And my first game/MMO was EverQuest. I was 11 when that came out, so a long time ago.
Are you good at EverQuest?
I'd like to think after 2 years, I started raiding with like the top guild on the server at the time, so
Wow.
I suppose.
At 11 years old, I could never put it together.
I was 13.
Oh, you're 13. I could never put it together like, hey, maybe I should be max level kind of thing.
Yeah, it took me 2 years to hit max level. It was a long process.
All right, I guess I'll go. I'm Kinjara. I'm 27. I'm from Ohio. I kind of live smack dab in between Columbus and Cleveland. To simplify my job, let's just say I do software engineering. Pretty extensive MMO background. I started with Lineage 2 as my first game on live servers. Went to private servers for a bit, GM'd there as in like actual game master. Played
wow.
Perfect World, Ion, Final Fantasy 14, and then BDO was a game that my friends and I were looking for something to play, and we had tried out WoW for a month, and I absolutely fucking hated it. So thankfully, I got everybody to play BDO, and they stuck with it until the pay to win patch.
Wow. Okay, so we're all a bunch of nerds here. You guys all work in computer IT or something like that. Do you guys have any leadership experience? Because all of you are important in the leadership of Vertex. Do you guys have any leadership experience that either in video games or in real life that before you got into BDO?
Well, for me personally, this is like I got sucked into leadership, and yeah, just escalated.
I led a World of Warcraft raid guild for about 10 years called Pie Chart, or not 10 years, 6 years. We were top 10 for quite a long time.
Were you really?
Yeah,
I was in the
at
shit
least
for
in
a while.
US.
I didn't pay enough attention. I was in like the top 50. I'm just always right under you, I guess. But I only had a guild for about a year, and then it fell apart. Did your guild fall apart like during Cataclysm or just after?
When I started working full time, I had to stop playing because a lot of overtime, so I couldn't really make raids. And I
Yeah.
think they lasted like 2 patches after that and then called it quits.
Kinjara.
IRL for me, I was in a fraternity in college, officer corps there, that had to deal with nationals on a fucking weekly basis. So quite a bit there. And then on Orwin at launch, I ran a small guild until I merged into Relevant. Or I joined Relevant, merged my guild into White Lotus, and then I joined Relevant and then was leadership there.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so let's start digging into Vertex here. Gaming experience. Let's talk about Orwin. So when I picked up this game, and I just let's start the chat spam about Tim Allen interviewing Aftershock GM. I had very little idea of what was going on, kind of geopolitically, and it wasn't until really server merge that I was kind of aware of all the shit that was going on. I didn't really know what territories were. I was trying to figure out how to enhance. So I'm gonna have to look to you guys to help guide this conversation a little bit. So what happened on the server that I came from? Let's start with Vertex coming together. I know it was a couple different guilds. Talk about how it came together. What was the idea behind it, and why that merge happened?
Well, Vertex came together like way late. It was only like a month or two before server merge. Like when I first started the game, I remember watching Hakurai videos and I was like, holy shit, it's a cool dude. It's a funny guy. I want to join his guild. Apparently it's pretty competitive and I was into the hardcore stuff. And it was Luciform. Pretty sure most of you guys know about it or don't know anything about it. But yeah, it was one of the top guilds in Orin competing against Black and Veritas, but
So Vertex was made up of mostly Veritas and Luciform, correct?
Not quite. It was mostly Luciform, but when the pay to win patch hit, everyone merged into the Veritas guild at the time. A couple Veritas did come over, but it was mostly the old Luciform that started the guild.
Okay, and who was the leader of Luciform? I'm sorry.
Started as Mizugami and then Agentile.
And they came into. Was that the leader? You were the original leader of Vertex, right, Vudani?
When Vertex was changed to Vertex, yeah.
Okay, so how were you selected for that?
Wow.
selected.
Everyone was offline for like months, and the previous leader had kicked everyone from the guild. So I clicked a button, and then I was the GM.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. So So let's roll into the early days of Vertex then. So you click a button, you're GM. I remember, I think I brought it up recently in one of those shit podcasts that you guys were basically, we just wanted to PvP. We just want to be on like tier 2 nodes. I think you guys only had like what 30 or 40 people that you'd show up to a node war with, but like you were geared. You guys had 200 plus AP in a time where that was like, holy shit. So talk about the ethos of, or the direction or the mindset of the guild early on, before server merge and what you were trying to accomplish. And, was that the good old days, or what'd you learn that kind of helped you move forward?
Well, I mean, the guild was made with like 3 people, and we just
Yeah.
wanted to do node wars. And we didn't like people who didn't pull their weight. So it was as simple as recruiting people that met standards and just having fun. And as things got easier on nodes, we moved up to the next level and then the next level. And then eventually it was just, well, sieging is the next step.
So how do you determine, is it mostly, I'm sorry, Sov, were you going to say something?
I was like, during this time, Iconic was like huge, right? And
Didn't they
I
own
was
all
part
the
of-
territories?
Yeah, I was part of Iconic. I think Kinjara was part of Relevant.
Mhm.
Two opposite sides here. But yeah, Iconic was basically owning Orin. And this is like when Vertex started up, when Vudani like came back to the game, took control of Lucifer and changed it to the Vertex name you have now. And then I was like, hell yeah, I want to play with Vudani because I was led by his like shot calling since like for half a year, ever since the game started, or since I joined Lucifer, since he was shot calling for them. So I started like dropping guild from Iconic because sieges were Resonant Sleeper, and I did node wars in Vertex for probably a month or two until the server merge happened, and then everybody knows about that like first week of server merge, the Iconic.
Yeah.
whole-
This is how you
whole
spell our
mess.
name. Come find us, motherfuckers. And then they last like 3
Yeah,
months or something.
yeah, it was pretty bad overall. I remember like I tried shot calling or started shot calling for them like that first week when we were in Calpheon against like that whole Zerga people.
Was I?
And
No.
then
Okay, the first week of server merge. I was there. I was
yeah,
on
the
Orin the
first week of
last
server
week.
merge.
Yeah,
we
the
were in-
last week I was on Calpheon, I think. Or something. I don't remember. That was a fucking lifetime ago.
And I think I remember saying like right after that war, I was like, yeah, guys, gonna take a break to node wars and stuff because it was like my winter break during that time, and I wanted to go out Saturdays with friends back home. So I went into Vertex, and yeah, Vudani just kept me there.
that feels like to me one of the biggest sacrifices. I think with my wife, it's like you just, especially now that I'm doing this podcast thing and all this stuff, but leading and shot calling a siege guild, you can't not be there on a Saturday, right? Like shit starts. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if you've got a better backup shot call or whatever the case was. When we had Sasha on here last week, we played a clip of when he got disconnected and like it just fell apart. Like it just wasn't the same. So you guys kind of feel that pressure on, maybe your social lives if you nerds have one. That like, hey, birthday parties happen on Saturdays all the time, right? And you have to be like, well, can I be home by 8, or meet you at like 10 or 11? Do you guys have that kind of pressure?
I mean, I definitely feel like I have that. Working a full-time job and just coming home every night and knowing, at least now with this current patch, that there's probably going to be a node war every single night, siege on Saturdays. Like, it sucks having to sacrifice hanging out with friends from college or finding other times to do stuff with my girlfriend. It just really sucks. But that's kind of the nature of what it is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the problem. If I'm not working, then I'm free. It's great.
That's cool. How about you, Sav?
I remember. Well, actually, right now I currently have a job, so it's just the 9 to 5 grind. It's not bad.
So none
but
of you guys are married?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
fucking 23.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh
or girlfriend that lives with you, or boyfriend, or whatever. you
Where's
guys
my
do.
wife?
Oh, yeah, you're married.
Yeah, I am.
what?
Isn't that surprising?
No, Sov is married
Wait, what?
to Winters.
Oh God. We can dig into that more later. So you brought up Sav. You brought up Vudani's shot calling, and just personally, so Vudani has a unique voice, and he's pretty famous for it, right? Do you ramp it up for the shot calling, or are you really you shot call the way that you're speaking to us right now?
It's pretty much this, yeah. Gets a little elevated when it like gets intense, but
How do you command a presence with such a calming ASMR voice? You ever have a problem with that, or just everybody listens to Vudani?
Well, Sov main calls, and we're both pretty mellow. And the secret I can tell you is recruiting competent players, because they will do what you say.
yeah,
Most of them, anyways.
yeah.
So your comms sound nothing like the clips we get from like Black Rose. It's pretty calm and just all right. We're moving here. Cast down. You know, pull out, pull back, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's this thing in TeamSpeak called Priority Speaker.
You use
It
that?
works magic. Fuck yeah, we use it.
Yeah, of course.
We're currently in a debate at Aftershock if we should. I'm kind of against it. I played a bunch of other games where we use Priority Speaker. I'm just so afraid that I'm not going to get good information from somebody else in my guild. Really?
We
No,
use
you can
multiple
still
comms.
hear other people talk if you're speaking. Well, I guess if you have like multiple shot callers, it's
Yeah, I think that's where the rub will
rough.
be, because I mean, eventually one of us will die, right? And then somebody else has to take over, especially now that you can't res people and stuff. So I feel like that's where my kind of rub with that is. But I guess I'm not surprised to hear that you guys use Priority Speaker. Like Hikamori muted everybody in their. They used Discord #1, not TeamSpeak, and then they muted everybody that wasn't a shot caller. I thought that was just absolutely insane. But I'm gonna dox them. I am.
We typically have the micromanaged roles in a different set of comms, so it'll be like one guy relaying to Sov if he needs to know something about like cannons or whatever.
Yeah, so cannons, flex, or defense are all kind of in their separate comms, and then they relay the whisper bind. So that's why we all pay for the TeamSpeak, right? It's the fucking whisper binds. If Discord had that, save me.
I actually don't think we use the whisper binds. People just say up if they need something. I'm usually always saying something if I'm shot calling, and if someone else says something, like their voice will be lowered for everybody else, but
Why do you
I'll
use
still be able to hear it well.
Why do you use TeamSpeak over Discord then?
Because we have people in Discord, other roles, and then they are also in TeamSpeak to listen to like the main ball shot calls.
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, so let's dig into the server merge, since that's really the meat of, you know, where Vertex really started coming together. And it was so much. I don't know if you guys took a look at the history on that spreadsheet. I know you guys have. Pull it up 1 second, but I thought it's been fun going back through that. Again, I did that with Sasha last week, and we kind of remembered old fights and brought it up and stuff like that. Did you dig through that at all and kind of go, oh shit, that's right, that happened and that happened?
Dude, literally on server merge when we started, I think every week, like 5 days a week, we node worded, and like 4 out of those 5 fights were always a good fight. So
Yeah, I
if
just
you want to
remember
like
them
talk,
all.
yeah, can't really remember back to a fight. We had too many.
So you node ward, you stuck to nodes for weeks. I think I wrote it down. I did the research. Let me catch up to my notes to where we were. Okay, so let's talk about. So the server merge happens. Let's stick to the outline here a little bit. The server merge happens, and so what were your expectations? Were you looking to grow? I mean, you were talking about how the node wars were so good. Did you want to grow? Did you just want to stay there? You know, when I fought you, I found that you had this comfortability with, you know, having strong, competent players. Were you like, this is going to build over time, and eventually we'll be able to take over the server? You know, what was the mindset in the early days
Well,
of that?
Before merge, we spent like maybe 3 months losing almost every single node. So
Oh wow.
upon merge, the goal was just to create an environment that the siegers that were losing or frustrated might enjoy. Because I refused to recruit players that were under par. So there weren't very many pools to recruit from at that point. It was just making a place to chill and have fun.
So what's the recruitment process? You've brought that up a couple of times. The competency comes in many different forms, right? So obviously you have to look at your gear, but is there just kind of a feel of the handshake? You know, this guy doesn't sound like he knows what day it is. Maybe we shouldn't invite him. This guy has potential, but maybe not quite the gear. Or do you have like these strict guidelines that people have to fit into, or have some sort of referral to be able to join your guild? You know, back then and also now.
Well, back then I can tell you that number one was if you show me a good set of war scores, I'll invite you on the spot.
Really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was top priority. And then from there, it's just a matter of, is this guy an idiot? And I'd just kick people when they were.
So you
Didn't
really had
happen very much.
okay. So you really weren't afraid to just kick somebody because you didn't think long term. You weren't worried about numbers. You really just wanted quality.
Yeah, I mean, back then
We just
especially,
wanted fights, yeah.
yeah, like I'd invite people and I'd be like, all right, you're on trial in like a month or whenever. I'll tell you you're good to go. So,
Uh,
you know,
Did you have
people
to spend
sometimes
7 minutes
fail
in a
their
closet
trial.
with Lucky?
No.
Winners just type that in chat, so I figured I'd say it. He pinged me, so he really wanted me to say it. And that's interesting. Most guilds, you know, there's a couple of ones that are active right now that say, you know, quality over quantity and stuff like that, and you know, people can throw out Amazur guild and shit like that. But you're actually not afraid to just go, this kid's a moron, and just get the hell out of there. Because, and we'll get into that arc later, because you guys purged at least once. I don't know if it was a purge or a fall apart or whatever the case is. So you're absolutely not afraid, especially now. I mean, you guys are. It's pretty hard to tell who's top, but I didn't know that you were doing that back then. Because if you take a look at this siege map, and you said, you know, you lost wars just all the time in the beginning, it was a slow road. I was actually really surprised, and I'll link this in chat so you guys can follow along here a little bit. Let me make sure I do this right. Last time I did this, I put my Discord. I had to kick like 20 people. Okay, there we go. And so it was a slow road in the beginning, and it wasn't until like week, I don't even know. Let me find it. It was like week 15 before you even got into sieging. So talk about that arc for a little bit, if you don't mind, of losing all those node wars and then moving on to building up the siege. What happened? Was it a slow, steady thing? Did you pick up some key groups of players or anything like that?
Well, Vudani can speak more about this, but we basically started out, I think server merged like 20 people, 10 people maybe, doing like T1 nodes, just having fun. And then once we actually started winning, I think I was streaming during that time too. And like back then I was soft cap, and soft cap was like god tier.
Yeah, you were like one of the first people to be soft cap.
Yeah, and fucking I was a wizard too, and wizard was ridiculously OP with their 100%.
What was that famous clip? It was you double teleporting or triple teleporting behind Juicy, wasn't it? It was Juicy.
Yeah, there was one with Juicy and one against like FML, both for like
Oh,
10
nice.
kills.
Okay.
Yeah, it was insane. And then I think people started watching, and they're like, "Hey, seems like they're having fun. I
Soft
want to
cap.
join that guild." And then like all these siege guilds who were tired because like I the siege scene during that time was pretty resident sleeper, and people just wanted to have fights and have fun in the game. And I think that's where we got most of our recruits from.
So you
A lot
didn't.
came from Barcode. I know we had like a group from Barcode.
Yeah, that was pretty late. That
Yeah,
was kind of what created like the catalyst to us sieging was when we got them.
Okay, so there was so you started building up, and then what was the conversation like, between leadership of, was it pressure from the guild, the guild members, or
Well,
was it just like, we're ready for siege, we should get in here and just start fucking shit up?
well, back then the leadership consisted of Vudani, and I messaged
Yeah.
everyone individually, and no one was against it. So
You messaged
that's
every
why.
single person and asked them if they were okay with sieging.
Yeah, it was a big change. It was obviously option, like it was totally optional, and there were a few people that were like, yeah, that's fine. I just can't make it. It's okay.
Because you built a
Whatever.
guild, basically off of taking players that were sick of sieging, and then you kind of come back around and you go, so you want to siege? And you got no pushback on that, except for a couple of people that couldn't show up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Toxic.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, we were doing incredibly well in nodes, and after that barcode group joined, it was like, well, we're fighting man upper snakes at least once a week already. I bet we'd get some good fights if we're, on the regions with guilds that aren't man upper snakes. So it turned out that the sieges were actually easier than node wars in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I agree with that. So it looks like you're 20 weeks. I was so surprised to see this. You were 20 weeks in. 20 weeks into the server merge before I see you come up on this spreadsheet. And you showed up on Serendia against FML and Chonation. Were you with one of them? It looks like you were kind of fighting FML
We actually
for a long
sieged
time.
a week before. We did Balenos the week before. But in that Serendia week, we were with FML.
Oh yeah, I see you now. Okay. I remember that. It was during that Juicy time. Right, okay, so I just passed Balenos off to Juicy. And then they were getting big, and they got a big head. And then LOTD. So when you came to Balenos, were you working with LOTD? I'm trying to get a screenshot kind of here in my head of what the politics. Well, let's just talk about that.
I
Did you?
think it was something like, I was like, yo, LOTD, we're here. Let's not attack each other initially and see what happens. So that's what happened. We killed everyone except Kyokai. And then we kind of like we were just dunking on LOTD at the time. But I felt like because they agreed to a mutual stalemate, it might be rude to keep going. And at that point, it was like I told people we were going to siege, but we weren't going to take territories because we wanted a node war. So we ended up pulling off LOTD, and I put like 20 guys on Kyokai, and then that was a terrible tactical play, and it cost us. Eventually, LOTD rebuilt. Kyokai pushed us from, what farm is it? That Tuscany farm.
Yeah.
They started doing safe zone pushes because we were on that west side over there.
Yep.
But it was a hell of a fight. Everyone was like, man, sieges are pretty awesome when you're in Vertex, you know what I'm saying?
Well, Balenos is always good fights. That's kind of the story of my arc, is we went through all this drama and politics to put our noses, ostensibly maybe where they don't belong. And you're this little Balenos guild, and you're kind of going, oh, I can't wait to get into the sieges. I can't wait to get into the castle sieges. Then you get there, you're like, holy shit, the servers can't deal with any of this. You people are fucking dumb. We're going back to Balenos, man. At least it's fun fights there, even though the safe zone thing is really toxic. I love Balenos, obviously, right? That's the most obvious statement ever. Tim Allen loves Balenos.
For whatever reason, it is stable in Balenos.
Yeah, it always has been. It was such a shock to us when we went to
Same with
Calpha.
Serendia most of the time too.
Yeah, even we fought together on Serendia. It was the end of last year, like November, October, something like that, when there was like 12 or 13 guilds, like you, me, and Black Rose or something. And we 1v1 Kyokai, and they just town rezzed us. But there was like 12 guilds on there, and that was way before the server changes. And that shit held surprisingly well. There was almost no lag and barely any desync. So I agree with you. I think Balenos and Serendia has always kind of been the home of stable fights, and that's why we've always stayed there. Okay, so let's
Understandable.
yeah, let's get back to you guys. So it looks like you follow. So give me a screenshot, if you will, of politics. Did you just drop on Balenos and just went, fuck it, and you went, oh, LOTD, we're here too, let's just fuck around? Or was there some kind of plan to get into a certain area? Was there somebody that you really wanted to fight with, fight against, or any connections that you had at the time when you were getting into Siege?
No, that week I pretty much just dropped, and LOTD owned it, I think at the time, or maybe I can't remember who owned it, but
It's juicy.
Okay, so maybe I was like the night before, hey, LOTD, I'm dropping here, because they had been pressuring Balenos for weeks.
Yep.
But yeah, back in those days, it was like a Friday night, 5 a.m. I wonder if people are going to X region, maybe I can get in on this. And I'd just drop a fort and
Well, what had happened
talk to people when they found out.
is LOTD held Balenos forever without nobody wanted to fight LOTD on Balenos. It was kind of one of those things early on. And then they left to go to Calpheon. And then we got wind of that. Aftershock got wind of that. So did Kyokai. And we went, oh shit, we're going to Balenos, boys. And so we fought it out there for quite a few weeks. And then we joined the fight on Calpheon, and then they went back to Balenos, and then the rest is their history. But so I'm not talking about just the first week. I'm talking about kind of in an early arc where you start going to Serendia, and then you get wrapped up in some back and forth with FML. Did you guys have beef back then with FML? I just don't remember. Or were you working with them?
But in the early days, I don't think there was ever beef in the early days.
Okay.
We fought a lot. Like, we were friends that would have very savage node wars frequently. Like, we fought each other so much back then. But that's why we liked each other.
So you guys were friends that fought each other. Just looking at the spreadsheet, it's like, oh my god, there must be somebody's hunting somebody or something like that. So I couldn't really pick out which one it was. I was so focused on my own thing, I just didn't know.
Well, in regions, I'm sure that a lot of times there were plans to do it. Like, the first time we went Serendia, it was like, man, Cho's been there for like 6 weeks or whatever it was. I was like, hey, FML, let's go to attack Cho.
Cool.
And we had that nice little 2v2, which was a lot easier than we expected. So the duo was a bit of an overkill. I think they had Honey. Who'd they have as an ally? Let me see.
That was such a long time ago.
Week 22. It was FML Vertex Tronation, and then you got off of Serendia. That was your first week there.
So the other guild wasn't listed.
Yeah,
this
isn't a Bible. It's a reference. The week I took Medaya, my Aftershock isn't highlighted. Nobody's highlighted. Like, oh, gee, thanks. So shortly after that, like your next big move, you're kind of wandering back and forth. I think you may have talked with Black Rose or done something with them in Calpheon, but you really just kind of bounce around. It sounds like you're just looking for fights. But then you get involved in this. Man Up gets dethroned. I'm sorry. So let's go to Medaya. This is week 30. So Vision gets taken off by FML, Vertex, and Black Rose. So you basically said, Vision's been on here too long. Let's go get him off, right?
I wasn't playing, so Sov can talk to that.
Okay. Well, hold on. Before we get there, then, if this is at a transition, why did you walk away from Vertex? Was it job? Was it political? Was it you're tired of the game? Was it the pay to win? Why did you step down from leadership?
Just personal reasons. Had to stop playing for a while.
Okay, so Sov takes over. Are you still? This is before.
No, this is way.
Okay.
Before that.
So you're just taking a break, and Sov is leading the guild at this.
No. When Vudani took his break or whatever, I'm pretty sure I was in like China, like
Oh,
for summer vacation. So I think during this time, I think Tall Stalker was given lead.
Right. Okay. So, and that was official by this point, by week 30 when Vertex went to Medaya.
Yeah.
It was
Because
okay.
I remember when like Vudani was leading everything, our goal was just to like stay in Calpheon a bit and build up. And then once Tall Stalker took over, he was like, yeah, fuck all that. We're gonna go east. So
Okay. So why was he selected, chosen, or was it just up for anybody that clicked the button again? I don't know anything about him. Does he still play?
no,
No, he
wasn't.
quit a long time ago. But I mean, at that time, I'd been doing everything for
Yeah,
Vertex, like
literally
literally
everything.
everything. So there weren't very many people that were willing to do stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this guy is doing stuff. Because like I I didn't ask people really, but I looked and I saw who was doing things. At the time, he was. So he kind of took over a bit. I guess he helped set up like a leadership council, and pretty much everyone from that council is still here, except for a handful. But we
Okay.
haven't really added many from that original set.
So he changed the entire, leadership style from going. Vudani
Made it
says,
to an actual guild rather than fucking do what Vudani says guild.
Yeah.
that was a good change, right? You've got people disagreeing with each other, and you're hashing out ideas. So that was a point. So a tall stalker was a point of growth for Vertex, and then they started kind of. That's that. So there was obviously a big culture change, right? So Vudani's Vertex is, we're just going to look for fights. We're going to scrap. We really don't want to take a territory. And we're just having fun on these other territories. And then the tall stalker gets in. He makes some culture changes, I assume, and then says, we're going fucking east, boys.
Stalker just wanted to show the size of his dick every chance he had. That was essentially the arc of Vertex there.
When did you join
Basically.
Kinjara?
So I joined, it would have been, I think, after week 20, because I think I was in Villain for that fight where Vertex, LOTD, et cetera, was on Balenos.
Yep.
Because I'd been following around the relevant guys. I was in Man Up at Server Merge, and then Barcode, then Villain. So I think it was right around then. It was a couple weeks before Budani quit.
Why'd you pick Vertex?
Back when I was in Barcode, I made a lot of friends that were in there, and most of their core, once Orca quit, ended up in Vertex. So I wanted to play with those guys again, so I chose Vertex.
When did that happen? When was the Barcode swap? That was obviously after server merge. It was early on. Was that
probably week 15, 16? It was just a few weeks before week 20, I think.
Because it was right after that
quick.
big Zerg. Right, I remember that. And like Orca was fucking furious with me because I didn't go help him defend Valencia or something, and he was like threatening that he's gonna kill Aftershock, and I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna be here next week. And sure enough, I mean they were they hung out in Serenity or something for a while. Okay, so Sov takes over. He wants to show how big his dick is as often as possible, and so he starts with Medaya.
Stalker took over.
I'm sorry.
That's figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
FYI.
Oh no.
He was a risk, and I mean he kicked out Man Up and Snake, so that's something.
Right. So he starts with Snake. So the whole political, is this where Vertex starts getting political?
I think the fallout of that is when they started getting more political.
Okay, so the big thing here is, right, so you help take out Vision, which is fine. And then, you go with what is now Snake at the next week and take out Man Up, and we all fucking remember that. And B Kill was here 2 weeks ago going, that was the biggest mistake I've made in this game. So what was you're part of this big thing, and you use the word fallout. What was the fallout of knocking these giants off of these guilds? What did that do to the guild members and maybe the political situation if you were whoever was involved at that time.
I was watching, and
I feel like
it,
Kinjara would know best. I remember I was in China just listening, and
So were you like the number 2 or part of that higher council at this time, Kinjara?
I believe so, because there was actually another GM that happened after Stalker and before Sov, and that was Wade, and that was a very, very small period of time, and I think that's when he bumped me up to leadership. I don't think that was under Stalker, but
Wade was Balenos, wasn't it?
I think so. I don't know. That's been a while because it was just a brief little stint with him. But in terms of like political fallout, I mean that caused there's a pretty big rift in the guild of the people that definitely thought that it was the right call that was made to do that shit, and then there was definitely the other group that was very much against attacking Snake and attacking Man Up, because that full group essentially ended up splitting off and then just going into Snake.
Right. So that was so I think that was later on though. That was the second time around.
yep.
Right. So this is the first time. This is when you're taking Man Up off. You take Valencia. This is like week 32. What is that? July of last year. So this is this time last year. And so Vertex takes Valencia. You haven't taken too many territories up until that point. And then you just kind of float around for a little while. You're back on a couple weeks later. We're all fighting together on Serendia. So Wade takes over. The next big move you guys make. Let's take a look at this. Then we're all on. Okay. So it is right then. It's shortly after that. It's just a couple weeks later that I go to Madaya, and then you're actually listed on being here on Madaya. Is that the week that I took Madaya? Hold on, I'm catching up here. No, it's not. You guys are kind of floating around. I can't.
I remember we had that whole Snakes campaign when Wade
No.
was GM,
Go ahead.
and during that time, people were like, there was like a group of people in our guild that was like constantly quitting, like one by one, and slowly joining Snakes. So a lot of us, like the original Vertex, were pretty salty about that, but a
Okay,
lot of
so
other people were like, hey, why are we fighting our friends and Snakes and stuff like that, man?
right. So let's move on to that week then. When Aftershock goes Madaya, takes Madaya, put Snake back on there. You guys were going to build, and then you end up going to Balenos, right, and losing. So that's when I forgot who was GM there, if you remember.
I think that was when I took over gym. I'm not sure. I think that was the week.
that was like first week.
Yeah, I think that
You
was the
got like
first week.
5v1 or something in Balenos.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
had.
we had that huge purge of people leaving, quitting because they didn't want to siege, blah blah blah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we were down to like, I think like 73 people was our lowest or something. And we were like, okay, let's go Balanos and just try to build up what we started with, just trying to have a good fight instead of like being in all that politics stuff that was happening on Medea.
So
And ended up, it was a pretty good fight, but we got zerged and people were kind of mad about it and also kind of mad that we didn't stay hitting Snakes, but that was like, again, the turning point
do you feel like
where
you
we
guys would
started
have been
like,
the decider of that Madaya siege, even though you had? I'll pull up the map.
oh yeah, definitely for sure.
If you
we
stayed
dropped-
there, like you had that shitty kind of Sauce and Garrison Wharf is like where the last spot on Madaya. If you guys placed there,
we
you
were
think you would have won.
actually placed there until I think like 1 hour or something
Yeah, you ripped up
before the
last
war.
minute. What was the thought process on that?
It was a bunch of things. Like, we were talking to allies and everything, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this would be the last week here. After this week, I think Cho said they're gonna go hit Black Rose in Calpheon, and I think Vexus, not Vexus.
Whatever they were called at
What
the time.
was? Yeah, I forgot what they were called at that time, but
That's okay.
that guild
Hexus
was
at
like,
the time,
I
wasn't it?
think,
They were Hexus then.
yeah, I think they were gonna go help them too, or help us, depending on what it looked like. But we were like, yeah, we'd rather not just go off on our own, head to Balenos, get a good fight instead of like zerging like we were doing for like the past month or so.
So you were
against
losing
things.
members because you were doing this political Zerg kind of large
It
scale.
was a lot of things because we had a group of friends, a big group of friends in the guild that were close to some people who dropped. And then they were slowly pulling them over. There was like this transition period, and it was pretty wild, pretty crazy. A lot of drama happened during this time, and I don't know. I just want to put an end to it and move to Balenos, stuff like that.
So my side of the story, because it's pretty relevant here, is that I was actually trying to go not that week that I ended up going because I was supposed to get Serendia from a good fight, McCann's good fight, and I ended up passing on that because Snake was like, "You have to come this week. You have to come this week." I'm like, "Well, half my guild is stuck on Balenos, or half my alliance is stuck on Balenos. I'd rather bring 4 or 5 guilds, secure it for you. We take 1 week, then we get the fuck out." Um, and so it's just, I think it's so funny how if you stayed there for 1 more week, if you really just stuck it out there, I really wonder how that would have gone. We were so worried that we were going to lose because we saw you place there. We could not believe that you ripped up and went to Balenos, but we knew you were hemorrhaging members a little bit and stuff like that too. So you go to Balenos
Well,
and
everything was fucked ever since the first week, because I remember FML was supposed to be part of us, and they disbanded like right after the first week we hit them. They're like, "Oh, hey guys, by the way, we're disbanding."
history repeats
So
itself, right?
yeah,
Okay. So you go to Balenos to lick your wounds. You hang there for you were there for 3 weeks, but you held it for 2 weeks. And you guys went from 50 or 60 people that showed up on Balenos to just really breaking out of the gate. I think this is when Sov, you took over, and
yeah, that was the first week.
then Winners really starts getting involved there too, right?
Yep.
So
So Winners was involved in all the politics stuff, starting that, and I was basically trying to like actually get the guild somewhere, like, because our recruitment was pretty shitty. Our just everything internally was pretty shitty with the previous people that was leading shot calling and everything. So I try to fix it up there. It's fixing up recruitment, fixing up people actually listening to calls and stuff like that. So this is when I can't actually remember, but I think we're in balance, like you said, for like the 2 weeks. And I think we moved on to Calpheon after that, or
yeah, you did. You really started working with Black Rose after you moved on from that.
I think Black Rose was also in a pretty shitty point, and we're both like pretty done with it. We wanted to fight on Calpheon, I think, against Cho. Let me try to go back here in the
Right.
week.
So our paths, we
It
don't
was
go
us
too
two
much.
versus Joe.
Yeah, we don't go too much longer before our paths cross again. And so what was going on is Black Rose was, kind of fluttering or whatever, and then you guys are just rebuilding and you're working together. And, the two of you are really strong. But this is when I started getting messages with Winners, about an idea of moving east and building up this alliance and stuff like that. I think that was the first time you and I talked. Was a couple weeks after that. You guys were kind of scrapping on Calpheon, and I think the idea was to hold Calpheon to build up guilds to move east, right? So even though Black Rose is having a tough time, you're kind of moving forward, trying to get this guild somewhere, in your words. And then, how close do you and Winners work on stuff like that? Is he part of the council or whatever, or is he?
Oh, dude, me and Winners talked like fucking every day. It was back and forth deciding.
So you had this plan to go back east for a long time, right? Like, this was about the time where you started thinking about it, right?
Oh hell yeah, dude! Like definitely.
So after this whole shitstorm that happens, and you lose a large chunk of your guild, and then you'd lick your wounds for a couple of weeks, and then you go, let's fucking do this again. What? Why?
Yeah, people were talking shit. So we were pissed with it. So was Black Rose. Black Rose was fucking, Sasha. Sasha was fucking pissed. I was pissed too. Winners was also pissed. We were all pissed.
Yeah, you bite down on shit talk pretty well.
So we fucking decided to go east.
Okay.
I think we were in Calpheon for a while, fighting Cho and Barcode.
Cho and me. It was Cho was there. Barcode there was there for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
And
like a
then,
good month or two, I think.
And then Trap comes in, and we were only there for like 2 weeks because Hikamori disbanded. And so that's when this thing starts really kind of taking off. Is you're holding down. You've got this alliance, that's holding down Calpheon. You're building these people up, and it's really working. The plan's starting to come together, right? So talk about how you kind of get from that point where, how do you know you're ready to hit Valencia, right? Because that's the big thing. I mean, we're talking about, for the people that don't know.
Oh, dude.
Dong Fan Boo Bye.
Yeah, fucking Dong Fan Bubai, man.
What?
He was the trigger to everything.
Hold on. Let me set this up a little bit better. The people that don't know Lyreley, even the moment you type Lyreley's name, he hears about it 5 hours later at the max. So, like, building something towards going east, and he was like, "You fucking piece of shit, I'm gonna kill your guild. You're nothing. I will hunt you until the end of the world." And you're like, okay, well, it doesn't matter who you are. Man up saying that is fucking scary, right? Nobody wants their guild to get killed. He pulled that card if you sent him, like, wrong punctuation. Believe me.
They pulled that card when Vertex brought 40 people to Node Wars when we started punching them in the nose on their little meme wars.
Yeah, during our Node Wars, we would be fighting fucking Man Up members and Stake members. And then all of a sudden, these two guilds started bringing like 90 plus people to Node Wars, and we were like, what the fuck? And then they took control of those T3s, as people know.
So you were talking about somebody,
was...
I wasn't familiar with who you brought up, but what was?
Oh
yeah.
So during our time in Calpheon, we were basically fighting against Cho. Like, Cho was the main factor. We weren't sure if they were with Man Up, or we kind of knew they were with Man Up, but weren't sure how committed they were with them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until like Man Up started poaching Cho members because they were losing. And I think the biggest member, or the biggest factor, was Dong Fan Bubai from Cho. He was like the 280 Musa. Went over to Man Up, and then Cho was done. After that, they were like, yeah, fuck, we're going to hit Man Up now. So once they were committed to going east of Valencia with us, then it was pretty much set. I'm pretty sure winners will go more into the details about it, but
yeah,
that was
that was part of the plan. So the linchpin was really Cho coming on board, right? And then the second that happened, you guys went east.
We didn't want to head east, because Cho was pretty strong at that time, stronger than Vertex. By
if you
like
remember,
slightly marginal. Yeah.
If you remember
And
the
then
Medea push, didn't like some of the strong allies just say fuck this and drop back to Calpheon? I think the goal was to prevent that again.
yeah. So we didn't want Cho to just like sit in Calpheon and take like weeks and weeks on free. Basically like the third guild holding a
Right,
castle.
so they'd build up because they were
as like we're in Valencia, like trying to hurt Man Up.
Yeah, they were 100% part of, Lyreley was in all those messages when I was involved in that, trying to get Cho back on Calpheon. It was Lyreley, Roots, and myself. Then Adam was typing ooh all the time. But like it was the four of us. So Man Up was really looking for Cho to stay solvent on Calpheon. And it's kind of funny. We should almost do a podcast about Calpheon one day, because it's just turned into kind of this proving ground or building up area of just every single guild that kind of goes from, I'm building up and we're trying to fight, somebody east, and then we get this ally here, and somebody came in, and it's just been like one of the craziest territories in this entire story. Is just everything that starts in Calpheon to me. But so why did you pick Man Up instead of Snake first?
'Cause they were bigger
Really?
at the time.
No, I think at the time, Cho was like down to hit snakes because they were like okay with it, but they weren't okay with hitting man up. So we were trying to get them to hit man up.
So they're down to hit Medaya, but they're not down to hit Man Up. So you beat them into submission to go to Man Up because they're bigger.
It was Dongfeng Bubai, man.
Okay.
Fucking man up poached that guy, and then Cho was over.
So they got so pissed off about one person going to Man Up. They're like, "Yep, we're going."
It was Micah too.
Yeah, it's another
That's funny.
high AP player.
Funny how something so insignificant or seemingly insignificant can change the course.
It wasn't insignificant if you fought in those open field skirmishes against Cho back in Calpheon early days.
Right, but one person.
No, it was literally like it changed everything.
Okay. So the alliance is in full force. You guys head east. And I'll talk to winners. Will get on here and we'll talk about the politics because that'll be a fun podcast. So you guys move east and you knock Man Up out, and then the Man Up alliance the week before you guys even knock him out. Lyerley is like, I disband Trap because I'm tired of working with Hikamori. And Lyerley sends me a message 6 minutes after I put that in my Discord. I actually went back and looked. He goes, dibs. And so we start building this counter force, if you will. And then I think right around that time, Black Rose starts falling apart, and Vencere, as we learned last week, is formed. So now let's talk about Vencere being formed. As you move east, and you've got this alliance going. Were you excited about it, or were you kind of upset that like two of these people that were working are now going to turn it? Two guilds turn into one guild. How'd you feel about that? And what was the state of the alliance once you took? What was the state of Vertex? We'll talk about what was the state of Vertex as you took Man Up down.
I think we were generally kind of excited about the merge with them, but we because a lot of us
Knew
were
it was
old
gonna happen.
iconic. Yeah, we knew what was gonna happen because a lot of us in leadership were like old iconic, and we knew what leadership was like under Fire and Paladin and all those guys.
What Sasha's like.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, these are two completely different personalities, and they want to lead like the same guild together. So we kind of expected.
I don't think anybody
everything
saw
that
this as
happens.
a long-term solution, right? To your point, sorry, two personalities kind of smashing together. I don't think I've ever talked to Paladin in comms, but just from his actions, it was certainly a time.
It's very Demasian.
Jesus, that's toxic. So this is all going in full force, and then I think the week that it happens, like Vencere falls apart first, and they start going into back into Black Rose or spreading around, or so they're the first guild to die. Does that make you guys kind of concerned about what you're all doing? And then the political backlash really didn't. I have to be honest, it was probably driven by me mostly, right? Because I'm on the other side. I'm the guy that gets in the podcast and scream and all that kind of stuff. So what kind of effect did that have on Vertex? The Man Up Run podcast and me screaming at you every Saturday and kind of spinning the PR thing. What did that do as far as leadership and the internal guild relations, if you will?
I think internally we were just chuckling at you retards. Oh shit! But
okay.
Because we knew that Sasha was gonna make a guild and the old Hexies guys were gonna make a guild, and we ended up getting two guilds just as strong as Vencere. Some stronger.
Yeah.
We weren't worried at all.
I didn't really think that. So and maybe this is more of a winner's question, but you know that's more of a winner's question. We'll just move on from that. But let's. There's been a lot that's happened in the past 4 weeks. As this alliance kind of fizzles out and all that stuff, and we all saw that message from winners, etc. The relationship you've had with Black Rose has been interesting. It's been interesting to watch, not only on the map, but Sasha's obviously a very vocal and outspoken person. And so he was on here last week, as you're all well aware, and he talked about his experience with holding Valencia, and then I guess they took it from Vexus, and then that was supposed to be their week, and then the week after they were supposed to give it to Cho, and then the week after that was you guys 1v1ing. So walk us through kind of that month of Black Rose on Valencia arc, if you will.
Well, from our side, it was like, all right, Black Rose is in for 2 weeks, and then Cho's in, and then they did other stuff, basically.
So Cho Nation was supposed to take that, and you and I had a conversation privately. I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but it was was there a lack of communication? How did, because Cho Nation holds that they're supposed to take it, and Black Rose Sasha says, yeah, you can fight for it. Was there a break of communication, or do you feel that Sasha just kind of went, I think I'm going to take it for a third, or you're going to have to rip it from me, or whatever the case was? And did that play into Cho Nation's base placement?
I mean, I believe Cho, and I believe Sasha, and Black Rose, well, Salt Dog contacted us earlier in the week, like a couple days before, and said, like 2 lines, we're out of the alliance, and we're like, all right, whatever, we're in Medea. And I don't think they told anyone else until I have no idea when they told Cho that they had dropped out, but we just kind of assumed that everyone knew what was going on. So did it play into Cho Nation's base placement? They said it did. That's what they said.
What is
So
okay.
from
Go ahead.
my so what I understand is like Sasha or someone from BR told winners like, oh hey, we're dropping the alliance, and this was like Thursday of that siege, and then they only told us. It was like a single liner, and then we were like, oh okay, whatever, we kind of expected it, but we didn't bother to tell anyone because I thought they were going to tell Cho too and all that other stuff. And then Saturday comes along and Cho was like asking us like, hey, what's the plan? And we were just like, what the fuck? Like, didn't BR tell you guys or anything? And then I'm pretty sure that's what led up to their position in the castle.
So what was your involvement in the alliance as this is going on, right? So obviously it was Winner's baby, right? But you're saying that you're talking to winners all the time, which makes sense, but as this alliance kind of grew into this enormous thing, and all these fights are happening, all this drama's happening, these guilds are falling apart and coming back together, and Man Up's dying, and you kill Man Up. What's you guys' personal involvement in all of this as kind of a leadership thing? You're the leaders of the guild that leads the alliance. How much are your hands into this?
Hands into what?
Into the runnings of the alliance.
Towards the end, we weren't doing much at all. We were just doing once Man Up stopped being a threat. Vertex was just trying to get whichever region Man Up was on so he could fight them. And other than that, people were kind of doing their own thing and coordinating. There was some communication, but not a whole lot towards the end.
I'm asking basically you guys, you three, not winners, not you as an alliance, but you three personally driving kind of what's going on in the alliance, from the point that you guys knock off Man Up into the end, or was it Winners basically running this whole thing by himself?
For me personally, I've never really had too much of a hand in politics, or at least not with Sov. I mean, with Stalker and Wade a little bit, but with Sov, no, that's their baby. I don't touch that at all. I don't tend to give two shits about politics half the time.
Yeah,
He's
so
not the Winners for it
yeah,
all.
we were leading the politics. Winners was just relaying because me and Vudani didn't want to deal with politics at all. Talking to all these guilds, Winners was just relaying what other people or other guilds thought, and we are just like confirming or saying sure, or it's denying or rejecting.
Okay, so let's move on to this week. Last week we all went through this insane patch note thing, and I don't think any of us really knew exactly what the hell was going on. Those were some of the cacao. Those were some of the worst translated patch notes we've ever had, because it was, and maybe that's some of our fault as a community, where we piece things together from other regions, and we're like, oh, this is what's coming because that's the way it's been, and now it's not. And I feel like they should almost recognize that, right? Is the only way we get context from these patch notes is looking at other regions. And now all of a sudden we're getting this is a completely different patch from any other region has gotten, to our knowledge, KR, whatever the case is. So how did you guys figure this out? Even the ticket system. I know Snake was like, we just leave everybody at 1 and then we just change it afterwards. Was it, incredibly clear to you guys how the ticket system worked right off the bat?
It's pretty fucking obvious.
Is it really? Was I the only one that was freaking out about that?
Like, you take a node, you lose 20 people.
I thought you
Like
had to.
Siege, it says 5 times or 4 times. So I'm like, the only obvious like conclusion is like 4 times on a node, right?
Right, but I didn't know
4
you'd be able
times.
to. How would you know that you'd be able to change it throughout the week, right? So if you've got somebody that can
I
only
don't
show up.
think
Yeah,
any-
you just fucking change it throughout the week.
I don't think like going into it though, nobody knew that, right? Like there's a few of us that hang out in Discords, and even I know there's some former Man Up guys and Snakes in there with some KR players that speak fluent English, and the way that they explain this whole system, what we got initially doesn't seem like it's on par with what they had, or that same patch that they had the following day kind of got what we got. But like I think a lot of us were expecting, if you set it to 5 on say like Saturday, on Sunday, if you take a node, everybody that was at 5 would drop to 4, everybody would drop lower. So you would know who can go to what,
right.
not that you could change it and that there's a 15-minute cooldown or whatever.
I was expecting to see zeros, is what I was expecting, because
I was not expecting that advanced technology, dude.
I just thought everybody would, because the way they wrote it out is
There's
like,
no way, man.
okay, well, maybe I'm an idiot. I know, okay, I'm an idiot.
It was
right?
just trial and error. Just, hey, Sunday, we could drop everyone.
And then now we can go. You can go
Oh,
from
look,
tier
I can
3s to
change
tier 1s and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into your experience with this a little bit. Like, we just watched my stream watch before we did this. You guys have just an incredible fight. It looked like so much fun. It was super fun to watch it. And so I was talking to Winters a little bit. He's like, this is such a great change. It reminds me of the good old days. How do you guys feel about showing up on a tier 1 with 20 people, and how this is going to play out over the next couple of weeks or months or forever, whatever?
Well, me personally, I fucking love it because this is how, like, we started and built the guild with Vudani. It's basically our backbone. Everybody knows about it. Everybody was excited about it. Yesterday we had a really good fight against Vexus, 40v60. It was just like typical, like after, like post serve fights on those node wars. It's good stuff. I think a lot of people.
So you
would have fun
defeated
with it.
Snake on a node, and that was the rumor mill has been going absolutely insane about all that. You guys want to set the story straight and tell us what happened in that fight?
What's the rumor mill? There were like 1,000 people watching multiple streams.
The rumor mill is you guys 1v1'd them and just demolished them. That's the
If
rumor
you
mill.
watch streams, you can see the 1v1, and it wasn't a demolish on either side. It was very close.
Okay, so who was there? Talk about the fight. Who was on what side, and how did the fight play
So
out?
we came into the node like thinking there'd be a bunch of like mid-tier guilds or so. And we're gonna have a pretty fun fight. Probably gonna get zerged, or most likely gonna get zerged. I was like 90% sure we are gonna get zerged there.
You had 60 people,
But-
right?
Yeah, 60 people. We took every node that week, so we were the lowest count. And then at 8 p.m. we found out that Snakes is on the node. And we were like, oh, okay, that's cool. It should be fine though with like 4 other guilds there, right? They should be like mid-tier guilds. They'll be fighting. It would just be like a fucking free-for-all or whatever. And then node war time starts and we're scouting for these bases and everything. We find like 2 snipes and then Illuminati and Fortune. And then it ended up being like a 1v1 between us and Snakes. And then Fortune was also hitting us at the beginning there, like a couple sending small groups. And we're basically defending, and with like the new medkit system where you can't medkit, defending is actually pretty advantageous.
Yeah. Yeah, we found that too,
Because
that
you were
defending was
able,
crazy.
or we were able to push into Snakes, like wipe out 75% of them, 50% of them, or all of them before they get to our base. And then just wipe them out again as they came in. And then from that, we started playing our roles. We had our offense team destroy their base like quite a couple times. And from there, it snowballed where they had no recovs. We were able to go on offense with the flag. And then at one point, I think during the last point, we wiped a lot of them, and then they weren't able to respawn at their fort because they're out of the node zone. And then from that, we were able
Oh,
to take down their fort.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, but by that time, it was already pretty over.
How many people did Snake bring at your estimate?
It seemed like they brought
They had a lot
60.
of non-participants, so we couldn't
Yeah.
give a number. They did claim that their leadership hadn't set it up, so they were undermanned. Like, I don't know why they do that, though. That doesn't make sense. You can just change the number whenever.
Yeah, probably because AFK. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
Fucking masturbating or something.
Did you guys command a gather during that fight on Snake?
No, he didn't use it once.
Oh.
Didn't need it.
So how do you feel that you stand against Snake in an open field as a 1v1? You know, 100v100.
100v100,
Oof.
it fucking different story. Because in that 60v60, we were able to bring like almost our top 60. And
So you think
that
that
obviously is a
weekdays,
huge difference.
yeah, weekday fights now are just absolutely completely different from Saturday. Would you say that's generally the case, you know, before this patch, and has this patch, you know, kind of reaffirmed that?
Sorry, say that again?
So do you think that, you know, you find guild X on a Wednesday on a node and you kind of go, oh shit, you know, that's where they fall in the power rankings, we have to take them this seriously. Do you feel like before this patch most siege guilds fought differently on a weekday than they did on Saturday? And how do you feel that this patch has kind of either moved away or towards that outcome?
It's hard to say till we see Saturday,
Yeah.
but I think generally this patch favors guilds that are more organized. Just because, you know, the best 60 Vertex are pretty damn good. You can still fulfill every role you need. And when you can cut out, I don't know, the bottom tier of a roster, it just evens things out. It's a more fair playing field.
What do you think Siege is going to look like? What's politics look like for you guys? You know, without, you know, showing your hand and knowing that, I guess Winners has taken maybe a step back from my understanding. You know, what is Vertex looking to do post Alliance now that it's been officially disbanded and we're moving into this kind of new season of Siege? What's Vertex looking to do, if you don't mind? And what do you see? Do you see more guilds coming in? What do you think the Siege scene is going to look like, you know, in 48 hours?
Well, we were hoping we were able to fight Black Rose this week on a node, but that wasn't able. And since on Sunday they all dropped to T2s. We thought they were gonna be on T3s. Saturday, I want to fight Black Rose, but again, I don't know if they're gonna come. I think it's pretty obvious where we are gonna go. So, yeah.
I think this Saturday is gonna be a pretty wild one because there's gonna be like 15 T1 guilds dropping for titles with soft cap gear.
Yeah, there's that too.
That's my fucking concern.
Better get on Balenos quick before those slots fill up.
Oh god. But I mean, that's got to trickle over into other things, right? So these guilds that just have people, you know, maybe and I'm not shit talking, but there's guilds that have kind of been, you know, B tier or sub guilds that kind of follow with, you know, like a Legatum kind of comes to mind. You know, maybe a Legatum makes a different play or something like that. People that have full rosters but maybe don't have the gear to kind of go into these castle sieges. Are you expecting or thinking that you're going to see somebody like that? And obviously, we're all going to have to treat every guild as, you know, something better or more or different than what they are. So do you feel that the territory that you may ostensibly be dropping on could see some extra help? You know, is politics going to come into it? Or do you want to reach out to Black Rose and just be like, hey, let's wipe all these kids out and have a 1v1?
I think that in regards to what you're saying, that's more of a concern with guilds that have average soft cap players. So like, you know, Aftershock would be worried they're fighting on equal levels, but I think if anyone's watched the last 2 nights, soft cap really isn't enough anymore.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's hard to tell the difference, you know, dropping a Cataclysm on a soft cap player versus an under soft cap player. They still get one shot.
Well, yeah, and everybody's fodder is what I'm concerned about. Is everybody's fodder is and everybody has that 10, 20, you know, people that are like, oh, well, it'd be great if you had a little more gear. And maybe that's not Vertex, right? And it's certainly not Snake, and it's not, you know, a couple guilds, but and if there's other, what I'm talking about is if there's other people on that AP is AP, 253 AP can still kill somebody over soft cap. Ask a striker, right? And so that's kind of
definitely for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think on the like smaller regions, if guilds do drop, they're gonna have a good time. But you know,
no, they're gonna have a terrible time.
Five
Please don't do it.
T1 guilds, 5 T1 guilds they're just gonna get melted by like snakes if they went to Medea, for instance.
Sure.
10 T1 guilds would have no chance.
I think this is going to be a crazy week. I hope we get some good fights out of it. I don't know what next week is going to look like. People are going to be holding on to that gear because it doesn't, you know, expire or anything like that. But so you guys are just running solo is your plan for the foreseeable future, at least? You're not, you know, there's been no alliance. You guys have just been dropping on nodes. That was kind of the biggest concern from what we saw at KR. You guys are just kind of going solo, doing what you're doing, and kind of see where things fall, I guess.
Pretty much, dude. Tired of like dealing with other guilds and what they want.
It's a pain in the ass running an alliance, isn't it?
It's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Like this is why fucking winners was the politics, dude. I was so done with the alliance.
Yeah, so you don't have to deal with idiots like me.
Yeah.
Off just blocks the Tim Allens that are messaging him.
Yeah. So is there anything you want to talk about that we haven't gone over specifically, or any issues or anything like that? You know, Cacao watches all these podcasts and stuff, so if you want to soapbox, you know, an issue or two or something like that.
Man, it's hard. I think Vertex actually likes this game, contrary to a lot of people.
But I think who was I talking to about this earlier? It was you, Vudani. Like it seems that PvP has been kind of revamped with all of this. As crazy as that might seem, I think attendance from all the guilds I've been talking to personally, attendance has been up. You know, trying to pick who that 60 or 40 could be is a little tougher. And then recruitment has, you know, maybe we just have less, you know, viable guilds, but recruitment has been a little insane for a lot of people. I feel like we're kind of getting this game ebb and flows like crazy, right? But I think everybody's kind of up on the game right now. Would you guys agree?
They had a week off and no siege, so
Yeah, that could be it
Yeah,
too. Everyone's pent
so
up sexually.
From like a social aspect, sure, but I think some of the inherent design flaws of this game are starting to show. I mean, just look at how much money is getting injected into the economy with the recent Octoboys event, and then with everybody out on the open seas now. Like you don't have accessories that go into the market. You don't have enchanting mats. Like the game is driven by events, and that's starting to show. I mean, like last night, I think ogres were going for up to like what 230 mil. Like that's just insane.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about sea monster hunting? Obviously, you have a team of people or a group or subsection that go out and do it, but how do you feel about it holistically?
I refuse to fucking do it. I've already made that clear to Sov and Vudani. I do not want to fucking do it.
How many
well, the 40 of us that are doing it are really liking the money.
weird
Yeah,
Vudani?
it's
If Vudani's
pretty good
leading
shit.
it, I bet he's bringing in like 4 bill a fucking day.
I'm not gonna reveal how much I personally make. Set up.
How long? When did you guys start doing sea monster hunting?
We started this week because
Yeah.
couldn't keep it down. Everybody's fucking talking about it.
Yeah, Furious sailboats are going for what? So Joe Never Fails chastised me for I did on stream. I pre-ordered one for 1 bill, and he's like, "What the fuck, dude? What are you doing? Why would you do that? You're ruining the market." What? There was 2 or 3 that were pre-ordered for 2 bill today. Like it's crazy.
We just need to make these sea monsters start dropping ogre rings so we have stuff to buy.
Right?
Yeah,
Got
but
to-
remember when yellow accessories used to sit? So I don't know. Is it overtuned? Does it need a nerf?
Oh, definitely. I'm just waiting for this thing to get nerfed, dude.
I think that grind spots need a buff.
Yeah,
Because-
it's that or grind spot needs a
Box.
buff, and then we need more like sources of accessories, because there's no Tungreds on the market. There's no ogres. It's like the only thing up on the market. I think it's crescents.
And barely
think
after the
the-
duo crescent thing.
The whole sailing thing is great, man. We've got like 40 people that have been fishing octoboys out, actively participating in sea monster hunting and talking and chatting, and the community's going, and we're making money, getting gains. I like it. Something different.
Yeah, and it gets people playing the game.
You think it's grind spots need to be buffed, or like maybe grind spot accessory drops need to be buffed, or maybe the money that you get from these sea monsters needs to be nerfed? There has to be some sort of balance, right? It can't be that you think every yellow accessory that goes up should be pre-ordered, or do you think that maybe more of those should drop and maybe it splits the community? I'm gonna go grind for myself and get some of these accessories versus let's all just go make 30 to 50 bill a week as a guild.
I think it's just the way the game's designed, where the economy is kind of strictly focused on event boxes. I mean, look at it. Like most people aren't enchanting and spending their money until there's a box that's on the market. And it's weird too, because it's like for Tungrads, the pre-orders last week were a hell of a lot smaller than what they were last night by like a good 50-60 mil. It's just the game is completely designed around having these event rewards every month, and that's the problem there. I don't think it's necessarily that the sea monsters are causing an issue, other than the fact that they're injecting a shit ton of money into the market. It's the fact that there's no good way to obtain these accessories without grinding for way too much time and then having an accessory that doesn't value itself at what it should be there, or just the fact that you have to wait for the game to give you free shit to actually make gains. And that to me is just the biggest design flaw right now with this game, is the market sucks because of how they've set it up.
That's an interesting point. I think the other side of that, and Sasha and I talked about this a little bit, is catch up, and B-kill too, is these catch up mechanics, is ostensibly that these accessory box are not so much to put God, I really love that word, but not so much to give us yellow accessories as much as it is to maybe give these guys that just started a year ago or 6 months ago, a boost of money or something to smash or something like that. But, it's almost turned into what our market is based off of. And so somebody in my chat earlier, it's scrolling pretty fast, so I apologize. I haven't caught nearly anything, but somebody said daily loot scrolls. I feel like that might be good, but also that probably works
envy?
on
Is that envy?
what? Oh, I have no idea.
Oh.
I just caught my eye. I just went and I saw it. I was like, that might help the grinding thing, but probably at this point, people are probably just gonna pop it for sea monsters and hope for that 100 mil thing. So.
But see, that's another problem with the game too, is the fact that we get half-ass content from KR. Like even this last patch where they changed the siege mechanics, we didn't even get the fucking alliance system. Why do you continue to spoon feed us little itty bitty parts of these patches that clearly don't have everything that they should entail? And you're delaying content left and right. There's no rhyme or reason to some of the shit we get. There's weeks where we get the same shit KR's getting. There's weeks where we're getting the same thing Japan's getting, and then the next week we're 2 weeks away from another region. Why the fuck do we not have like the full patches at this point? Like the crazy thing is most of these files are in the fucking client. It's all there. It's just disabled. Why is that a thing?
That's an excellent point. I think we need more answers, right? I don't know if Kakao has them. Now that I have a better understanding that Kakao has kind of started talking to us as a community, I think mostly the streamers have had a lot of communication with, specifically Richter. It is kind of the newest community manager. He's done a good job. I guess they've been a little afraid since the chimney gate or whatever the case, whatever you want to call that. But I think it's important for us to have a little more interaction with what's going on. But I don't know if Kakao has the answers. To what Kinjara just said is, why isn't this stuff in here? I think they're translating these patch notes and going, I think we don't get patch notes until after the patch is live, because I think they're constantly screwing with it. And that I think if I can get on my soapbox, we need context. We need to know what's coming, why it's coming, and what the vision is. Because if this stuff is here and not turned on and all that stuff, we're like a little science project in a 5th grade class. It's something close to the that Jim Carrey movie from way back in the 90s. What was that? The Truman Show. It's something like that. I feel like we're over 50% of the revenue for the game, right? I feel like we deserve a little more polished of an experience when it comes to these drastic changes. It's a game that we all love and we're having fun with, but this market thing and this sea monster thing is exploding in an enormous way. So I agree with you guys that something's got to happen, right? This can't be sustainable. There's way too much money in the market.
Well, you got to look at the most important thing, and that's artisan memory sales. And if people aren't farming, that means memory fragments are more scarce and artisan memories are more valuable. So if people are getting raw silver, they're getting their money.
I think that's why we had an extra, this Octoboy thing works both ways, because we're not getting relics. Nobody's actively farming for relics. When you want memory fragments, either you can buy them, but ultimately they have to really be fished up. And so that creates by itself, if you don't grind for the Pila face, if you don't grind for the Medaya ones, and you're not fishing for relics, then you're right, there's a worldwide shortage of memory fragments. So maybe that's part of the we all think we love the Kois and the Octoboys and stuff, but that's got to be hard to buy a memory fragment right now, right?
Yeah. You look at how the Pearl Shop has been released, and they release big ticket pay to win items that Korea has had in like 3-4 month cycles. Like we got the tent a couple months ago, then we got the weapon change coupons, and it's like, as someone who spends money on the game, the coupons come around and you're like, oh, I haven't spent that much on convenience items in a while. Maybe I should swap some weapons. So I think they're just going to keep giving us a little piece at a time, trying to make money. That's how most businesses are ran.
Yeah, I'm not mad at them for making money, right? Like, that's not a terrible thing, especially all of us being in America and having that kind of mentality. But you feel like you feel like they really kind of do some of this stuff on purpose to make more money off of us instead of putting the quality of the game first.
Everything's business, I can tell you that, and that's just how it is. That being said, quality of the game is important for business. It's just finding the line.
I still think with the way the economy is now, though, it will eventually drive players out when it's incredibly difficult to enchant your gear, and then you have systems like Renown in place that promotes progressing your gear and having more and more gear. Like if you can't actually progress to compete with those players because you can't actually get the materials off the market, like that's a problem. Like
I
that has
totally
pushed a
agree with
lot of
that.
my friends away from the game. I had friends that came back to this game that started at launch with me that have already thrown the towel and said, look, I'm not playing this game anymore because I can't progress. And like, that sucks. And even with me personally, I feel like I'm at that point too. With this whole sea monster thing, going back to what we talked about at the very beginning, when you have a significant other, you have this full-time job. Like when I come home and I know that I have to node war every night, I don't want to invest my time into doing the sea monster crap because I don't find that fun. And at that point, the game has become more of a job to me than it has a game. And I don't want to continue if that's the meta that I have to stick with in order to be competitive to the point that I was.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. You know, the time involved, and that's something I have a big problem with Cacao on, and Sov, you can probably talk about this too. Is this ticket system sucks, right? And like, why can't we have a co-GM? Why can't we assign these roles to other people? Why can't somebody else hit EXP buffs? Why can't somebody else command to gather? Why can't somebody else assign these things? Why does it have? What is their obsession with the GM role? I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a streamer. I'm a business owner. I'm all these things. The last thing and I'm a guild master, which has all of these things attached to it. It's so
Fucking
crazy.
It's a lot on gyms, but like, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
I guess.
I mean,
it just seems
yeah,
oppressive.
like I play this game for the shit talk, for the fights, just for the fun. I really don't care about anything else. I already have my gear set as it is.
So we have to
People
sit
will
there and click all
eventually
these
progress.
buttons.
Like, doesn't matter if it takes like a week or 2 weeks or like fucking half a year. It's whatever, man. Just have fun fighting. It's what I want to do.
Right.
What
I mean,
want
that's the point. Is
people
that's what I
instead
want
to
to
do.
do. I want to work with my guild. I don't want to sit there and click everybody's payouts and have air tables and all these things. It's like, as a GM, we should be able to delegate this stuff to other people. It shouldn't just be our account that can do it. We should be able to select somebody else to have the power to do this. Right.
I mean,
Didn't they talk about that system like a year ago? I swear there was like a patch that they tried it in KR or something.
I
Could
don't
be
recall.
wrong though.
I don't recall anything about that because I mean, just you want to talk about low hanging fruit for quality of life, man. Like, this is insane the amount of work that we have to put into this.
it's honestly whatever. I don't think it's that much, but
It's probably easier for a guild like you guys.
Just gotta show up to war,
Right, exactly.
ready to summon.
Yeah.
yeah.
Make sure you have those bloods on you.
There's a lot more of like
Sasha.
out of game stuff that you guys have to deal with more and more than there are in game. I think that kind of sucks too.
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, there's a lot of systems that are just not in the game that you have to take care of yourself outside of the game. Like if
I mean, like
there's
attendance and stuff and all
yeah,
that.
like stuff like that. If you could track it in game, I mean, there's a lot of quality of life stuff this game could have. And there's just a lot of things too where it seems like PA has these incredibly great ideas, but the execution is just terrible.
Is there anything else you guys want to bring up or talk about? You know, kind of soapbox.
Just want fucking fights, dude.
Yeah.
Wonder why BR didn't drop on nodes like half the time this week. Question mark, question mark, question mark. A lot of shit talking from them.
Yeah.
I just want to see some results, man. Some actions. Back up that shit talk.
How do you feel about the fight? How do you feel about the 1v1 when they're in the castle?
Well, I was in Chicago laying in a bed. So I was pretty mad watching VODs.
Vudani, how about you? How'd you feel about that whole fight altogether?
I commented on it in the last podcast, I think, and it was a good fight. And
Yeah,
it,
but, I mean,
I mean, it went how you'd expect.
You
He's,
really didn't expect to beat them. You really didn't expect to beat them.
I thought we had a good chance, but I prepare well for fights, and it was my call that night, so I had a strategy, and I thought we had a good shot, but I don't go into any fight expecting a win. I just prepare as well as I can.
Feel like your strategy was executed properly or to the fullest.
Yeah, every strat I had laid out after watching VODs, obviously I have adjustments, but
Sure.
yeah, I mean, we executed what we went over. All the members did exactly as they were told. It's just, man, that castle, those Zerkers with the cannons, back attacks, yeah, this can only do so much.
Yeah, I feel like they really showed off how strong, because those, Madai and Valencia were largely held by one guild for, the recent feud, the recent past. And so really having it being shown, because Lucari would just go around and watch other people's fights. And so we rarely got to see a fight on Valencia that was anything outside of a Zerg. So seeing a really good fight like that, I think that helped the community. I think that brings people in to see something like that. I mean, that was one of the best sieges I've ever witnessed. It was so much fun watching that. You guys had a good show out, and you pushed in, and you had all this great stuff. But that castle advantage, I've never really appreciated it until the BR Vertex 1v1, and it was incredibly entertaining to watch.
Yeah, sure, it would have been better if I was there to help Vudani actually like strategize like on the spot.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was pretty rough because, BR's flex team was big, so we had recovs down a lot of the time.
Are you a big part of the shot calling at Vertex Sovereign?
I am the shot calling.
Oh, you are the shot calling. Okay,
Yeah, Vudani does like the offense shot calling with like 20 people, but
gotcha.
we split half and half if I die.
Okay, so that was a big loss then for sure. Get it?
Wow, fucking calling me out.
So
I mean, yeah, it's whatever.
what's your recruitment look right now? Are you 100 out of 100? Are you looking to replace people? What does a guild like Vertex do for recruitment, if anything at all?
Just try not to lose the players who are already like pretty good. Just keep players happy. Basically, that's it. If you keep fights going,
They come to
then
you.
obviously people come to us because
Yeah.
they want good fights. So,
And some oddball people as well.
You have like legacy
always-
members that maybe don't exactly like you could replace them with somebody a lot better, but like they've been there for a long time to keep them around. 'Cause they're
yeah,
boys.
yeah, a few of those, but
They don't
That's
show up
a
after
lot.
Tuesday
it's
anymore.
not like they're like fourth page like someone,
Yeah.
but it's good.
I think these legacy players, there aren't very many of the legacy players that are just full hard carries. I don't think we have any. But that's my opinion.
What's your bottom page look like? Is it people that are sitting at defense, largely, or is there some sort of expectation of kill to death being in Vertex that's important or tracked in any way?
Well, look at your gear and your class. Like obviously, if you're high AP, which wizard you should be doing either mid tier or up to high tier if you're like especially good. But yeah, you usually see like the melee classes down at the bottom, or like soft cap, which wizards can't really do much.
There's still a few shitters.
Yeah, there's still a few shitters, but
They know who
every
they are.
shitters.
Are they on notice? Is people working with them? What's it like to be a shitter in Vertex?
They get called out by me all the time for being shit.
Do you help them, or are they on their own?
Nah, I just straight up call them shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fair enough.
Maybe PvP a lot in this guild. It's
Yeah.
hard not to get better, at least.
Jeez, these guys are savages.
Right? Okay, so I have to say that, and I should have probably started with this. I really appreciate you guys coming on this. I know we've had a anything but checkered past, so it was really kind of an honor to have you guys here and to talk about the arc and go over a little bit of this stuff and talk about the recent history. And I think it's great to have top 1-2 guild wherever people want to place you on the Reddit post. To come in here and talk about your experience and how you got to this place and all that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, dude. It's pretty good that you set up something like this. I think it's pretty cool. Have you ever talked to Cho yet? I want to see Cho talk.
I really thought Cho would come on this podcast before you guys did, if I have to be honest. So Cho, if you're out there, I think it'd be a lot of fun to talk. But I've nobody from Cho has reached out to me in any way, shape, or form. And D Mike is kind of the Saturday guy, and I don't even know if he's really quote supposed to be there or anything. So I appreciate you guys supporting this
Yeah, I
Saturday
want to see
podcast,
like
too.
Firen on here too. Like,
Yeah,
show
I've talked to
leadership.
Firen about it. I actually need to hit him up. I think Huntler is coming on next week, and then we've got winners.
Huntler.
Because
That's gonna be a salty one.
the
Yeah.
man up guys are
Oh,
gone.
jeez.
The man up guys are gone, right? So who do I talk to that has some sort of arc of man up? And Huntler is pretty much the guy that's kind of around. That was part of leadership, right? So he's committed to doing it, and so I think that's my next page of notes that's coming up. Firen is definitely on the list. It'd be nice to hit up another
Don't you
streamer.
need to get Lyrelay?
Yeah. I feel like Huntler won't know much.
The two most requested people are Lakari and Winners at this point. But people don't know Firen, right? He kind of hangs out in the background, but that dude is got a fucking story, and I would love to just dig into that. Vert just kills people. Watch his stream, you'll get his arc. So I appreciate it, guys. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really, really appreciate it. If you ever want to come back and talk about anything specifically, I always have the schedule's only planned out, 1, 2, 3 weeks, something like that. So if a current event happens, more than welcome to come back on here. I appreciate your support with the Saturday podcast and all that stuff and being here today. I hope this was what you wanted it to be. If there's any last comments, you guys can have the last word.
Yeah, just keep it up. It's pretty good stuff.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'm gay.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Pretty fucking gay.
I'm straight. The only straight Vertex member,
Me too,
other than
Kinjara.
Blackie Chan.
Yeah, he's still on this podcast, dude.
All right, guys. Have a great night. Appreciate it. This will be on YouTube, and I'll send you guys links.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having us. Peace.
Later.
See you guys. There it is. We did it. That was Vertex. What do you guys think? What's I thought that was pretty interesting.